we don't have a flag, so we're going to dispense with the flag salute and pledge. But I do want to remind everybody that this is a public meeting, and we are being recorded via video and audio, and we do have a hybrid option for state law. Any awards, recognitions, correspondence? None. We don't have any minutes. And any additions to the agenda? I'm looking at Robert. So
none that I know of.
Okay. Public input or recognition of visitors for anything that's not on the agenda? None here. None. Okay. With that, we'll jump right into item number 1, supplemental budgets. We will go into public hearing mode. So we'll suspend the regular meeting, go into public hearing mode. And with that, I'll turn it over to Robert.
Good morning, commissioners. Before you today are 4 supplemental budgets. I will summarize them for you. Budget order 2024-59 DA Victim Witness Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $30,000 and an increase in materials and services of $20,000 and an increase in contingency of $10,000. Budget order 2024-60 Court Security Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in transfers and of $30,000 and an increase in personnel services of $30,000. Budget order 2024-54 General Fund Public Health requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $50,000, an increase in materials and services of $30,000, and an increase in contingency of $20,000. And budget order 2024-70 General Fund Admin Services Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in transfers in of $14,000 and an increase in contingency of $14,000, or a decrease in contingency of $14,000. No, excuse me, increase in contingency of $14,000. So it's an increase in transfers in and an increase in contingency. Do you have any questions?
Hearing seeing none. Okay, I'll ask for any public input. In favor or against or neutral? Hearing seeing none, we will close our public hearing meeting. Go into right back to the regular session. With that, I would entertain motions.
I move to adopt. I know the pecking order around here. Okay. I move to adopt budget order 2024-59.
Second.
Got a motion second. All fair the motion, say aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt budget order 2024-60.
Second.
Got a motion second. All fair the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order 2024-54.
Second.
Got a motion second. All fair the motion, say aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt budget order 2024-70.
Second.
Got a motion second. All fair the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
You know, before we move to budget transfers, I just want to say thank you to the finance department. That list is incredibly shrunk over the years. I just am amazed at how short that list has gotten on supplemental budgets. So even in the time I've been here, short time, big change.
Thank you. I was just considering the fact that I believe last year the total number of supplementals and transfers was close to twice this many, which last year was actually a really busy year for those. But typically we'd have 20 to 30 more than this.
Yeah, I'm impressed. It's incredible, to be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess not just the finance department, but the whole county.
I think it reflects, I mean, I would say a better job of initial budgeting, and also a matter of people being more aware of what their budgets are and remaining.
I agree.
I was just gonna ask that
Great
question.
job.
Okay, item 2, budget transfers. Let's stay with Mr. Paul.
Good morning, Commissioners. There are, I believe, 12 appropriations transfers before you this morning. First is Budget Order 2024-61, Environmental Health. The Environmental Health Program requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $30,000 and a decrease in contingency of $30,000. Budget Order 2024-62, Harris Park. The Harris Park Program requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $10,000 and a decrease in contingency of $10,000. Budget Order 2024-63, General Fund, General County requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $50,000 and a decrease in contingency of $50,000. Budget Order 2024-64, Academic Achievement Program requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $4,000 and a decrease in contingency of $4,000. Budget Order 2024-65, Economic Development requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $100,000, a decrease in contingency of $100,000. Budget Order 2024-66, Record and Archives Program requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $5,000 and a decrease in contingency of $5,000. Budget Order 2024-67, General Fund Board of Commissioners Program requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $100,000 and a decrease in contingency of $100,000. Budget Order 2024-68, the Law Library Program requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in transfers out of $14,000 and a decrease in contingency of $14,000. Budget Order 2024-69, the General County Program requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in transfers out of $30,000 and a decrease in contingency of $30,000. Budget Order 2024-71, the Economic Development Reserve Program requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires a decrease in materials and services of $2 million and an increase in transfers out of $2 million. Budget Order 2024-72, Communication Reserve Program requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $1,000 and a decrease in contingency of $1,000. And Budget Order 2024-73, the RAAP program requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $100 and a decrease in contingency of $100. Those are the budget transfers before you today. Any questions?
I have two quick ones, and I meant to walk down and do these the other day. I apologize.
No worries.
Law Library, is that an increase in expenses from the city of Pendleton?
So actually it's recognition of the portion of that money that actually goes to our general fund. So in 2022-23, we didn't transfer the money that was due to the county
Gotcha.
I actually didn't get with Dan in time to do that, and actually didn't do it till just recently, but it was in excess of the amount that we had budgeted for 24.
Okay, no, that's good news. And then the second one was the RAP program, the $100 on that.
So we have had that program for a number of years. RAP stands for, I believe, something to do with reducing adolescent pregnancy.
Yeah. It is.
And the idea at the end of 23 was to completely expend those funds. And there was about 40 or 50 bucks left in that program. And in order to get rid of it this year, I actually moved it to the health department.
Yeah.
And so, but there was nothing budgeted to do that. And so I needed to create a budget to
Roll it over.
roll
Got
it
it.
over.
Got it.
So it's empty now and there shouldn't be any more of that.
Thank you.
Okay,
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Okay.
And I read this the other day and I just wondered what it was. Academic Achievement Program.
Cool program that we don't do anymore.
We still do that program. Funds are dwindling. I believe we have we might have less than $15,000 left. But for years, we have given awards out of that program, which was originally funded, I believe, by the Calpine Corporation, who made a generous donation for, I believe it originally was for athletic achievement in Umatilla County. And then a number of years ago was converted to an academic award. And so we've given, I believe, 2 scholarships every year, kind of somewhat in coordination with the ESD to local students that apply for scholarships.
one boy, one girl, right?
Huh?
One boy, one girl.
I don't know those details. However, what happened this year, so we normally budget $4,000 in expenditures. We haven't gotten any revenue in that account in quite some time. However, one of the winners in 22-23 didn't claim their money until 23-24. So we actually had an excess of expenditures in 23-24 that I needed to account for because I only budgeted for 2. And I'm pretty sure there's either going to be, when we finish this fiscal year, there's either going to be 3 or 4. So I added another $4,000 to expenditures in order to not be in excess of our budgeted funds.
These were the Calpine funds that came from when they went operational.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it was before my time. Money's been here since before I came to work here. I believe the original contribution was $75,000. And it's, for a while, we were collecting some support from some local businesses as sponsorships, but we haven't done that in a number of years. And so the funds are, like I said, they're less than 15,000, might be closer to 10 at this point. So we only have a few more years of doing that without supplementing the funds in some way.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's good
They,
progress.
Calpine actually did the 75,000 that started the Fairgrounds moving fund too.
Okay.
Way back when.
Yeah, I know when Courtney was on the court a few years ago, they were huge supporters. I mean, they were like their.
They still are.
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few years ago.
20. I'm not sure if I already said that.
All
Okay,
right,
thanks.
we're ready for you.
All right. I move to adopt budget order 2024-62.
Second.
A motion second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt budget order 2024-61.
There isn't a 6-1.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. so on top.
Oh, shot,
Go
sorry.
backwards.
Okay, sorry. My mistake. Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order 2024-63.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order 2024-64.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order 2024-65.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order 2024-66.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order 2024-67.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order 2024-68.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order 2024-69.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order 2024-71.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order 2024-72.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
I move to adopt budget order 2024-73.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. With that, we have reached the end of our agenda. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thanks all. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.